Yeah, regarding basically like our company like in cement sector, which is a manufacturing sector. So the first and foremost the statutory compliance comes into picture with respect to mining, because we are extracting minerals basically. So related to minerals whether royalty compliance is there, because whatever we extract from ground basically. First thing, we should have government approval on that. The environment clearance should be there. The mining license should be there for extraction. So once all those compliances are there, then even after that, whatever we excavate from ground, basically we are required to pay royalty to government basically. So the entire value chain is starting from like say applying of mining lease to whatever environment clearance, pollution clearance, then excavation clearance, and then mining plan approval basically. And then excavation includes complete value chain of compliances basically. So all these parts becomes very important. Otherwise, if there is any violation or deviations, so government of India, or like say state government, basically they have a practice of mining survey from time to time. So in case survey is done and then some illegal mining is found, or like you don't have permission but you excavated the material, there are huge penalties basically, which works out like almost 10 times of whatever royalty payable was there. Or like say, depending on the turnover and profitability, the percentage of penalties are levied, which becomes very large in nature basically. So we can't take those risks, because that even might impact continuity of the company also. So with this aspect, that is the first and foremost compliance which we are required to follow. The second part comes with respect to like say GST, GST compliances. So basically, since we are operating 11 plants across India, and we have more than 500 depots from where we supply to our customers. We have multiple nature of customers. Then we have multiple nature of schemes which are given to customers. So all those have applicability or implementation of GST on that. So whether and then at the same time, we have multiple vendors with from whom we buy raw material or like say fuel and all. So input credit, we avail input credit on that basically. So whether the input credit is being availed in right manner or not, whether we are charging GST to customers, we are reversing GST on incentive schemes which is being allowed to customers. And even nowadays, even if you move the material within your company also, you need to charge GST and then take input credit. So suppose if we are moving material from our plant to our own godown in another city, we need to charge GST and then take input credit when the material is received at depot. And then again, when we sell to customer, we need to again charge. So at every level, the GST applicability or charging happens basically. So that is the second important compliance and statutory requirement. And once the GST charge or input credit is availed, after that, whatever return filing and all, you need to file monthly return, you need to file quarterly return, you need to file annual return. Then you need to reconcile GSTR with whatever in website, government website. So whatever is visible in government website, you need to reconcile with that. So this GST indirect tax basically, because nowadays all the indirect taxes are merged into GST. So that becomes a second important aspect. And at third, direct tax, basically. So direct tax, whatever profitability we are earning, so charging, paying advance tax from time to time, like we need to pay quarterly advance tax on due date, basically. Otherwise, interest applicability will be there. There will be issue of penalty, basically. And then final tax payment, and then filing of return, and then getting assessment done, basically. So that part comes under direct tax, and that includes TDS applicability also, because whatever we are paying to vendors, basically, there is applicability of TDS at different rates to different segment of vendors. So that charging of deducting of TDS and then making monthly payment to exchequer, basically. So that direct tax also becomes that important aspect. And then there are some other laws, with respect to, like, say, Shop and Establishment Act, like where each and every of our godown or, like, say, office needs to be registered under Shop and Establishment Act, basically. So these are the, basically important aspects which we come across and we try to comply. Yeah. No, it has a huge impact, basically, because if you don't comply, then suppose if I give example, in recent past, on one of our competitor, basically, there has been news with respect to, like, say, direct tax, basically. So on income tax part, some benefits have been claimed, basically, which were not allowed. And there was a huge demand, and then definitely, like, that includes huge amount of interest, because the income tax department charges interest at the rate of 18% also. And then more than 100% penalty, basically. So with that, if you don't comply, then everything gets accumulated, and then that might even have issue with respect to continuity of the company. Correct. So suppose if I give example of, like, say, ours, we are making GST payment of almost 200 crore every month, after charging from customer and taking input credit, our net payment comes to around 200 crore, more than 200 crore. So on annualized basis, it might be 2,400 crore. Correct. So and if we are not complying, we are not paying on time, then that might even attract interest, then penalty. And if we continue that non-compliance for years, basically, then definitely, like that, if any demand comes or any search or survey happens, and then so every aspect, whether it is, like, say, mining, which I explained, or, like, say, indirect tax or direct tax, or, like, say, statutory with respect to employees and all, PF and all. So every aspect, since the size of the company is large, basically, so the implication also becomes large. And with penalties and interest and all, like, the amount might be quite large in 2, 3, 4 years, like, if you don't comply. So might be possible, like, if we don't comply, or we are, say, delaying for, like, say, 1 month or 2 months, that might not impact much. But if we are doing non-compliance on continual basis, basically, that might even impact the continuity of the company. Basically, we get regular update, basically. In our company, like, we have made a full-fledged tax department, basically. So we have one tax head. uh, then we have, under the tax head, we have direct tax head, then indirect tax head. Then again, under direct tax head, there are professionals, basically, So we have team of like say 10 to 12 people in tax department, which keeps tracking and keep studying like whatever amendment or case laws or like say changes are happening on day-to-day basis with respect to tax. And they immediately like take action and coordinate with either IT or with respect to department and get it implemented. So that is a regular exercise which we keep doing. But whenever the major transformation happens, like say when GST was introduced, basically, it was a completely new act and it was a major change basically. So whenever major change happens, then at that time like the government also normally gives time. So it is not like that one fine day morning like government just announced like it will be implemented from tomorrow or say so. So normally government also gives time to industry, and then during that time like we prepare ourselves. And even because that requires a lot of change in like say IT software and hardware and team composition. And then we involve like consultants also, because for GST and all we are working with Lakshmi Kumar Shiridharan, who are reputed consultant. Then Vash and Company, who is also one of the well known. So we do mix of all these efforts and we prepare ourselves properly. And normally, like what happens, like whenever such act comes, government also does not. They also allow some sort of like say concession. So if I talk of GST, government was first thing like they gave time for implementation, then they announced well in advance, and then after that also for first 1 or 2 years they were quite lenient on like say even if some errors were happening or like say some like say e-way bill and or like say whatever requirement, like they did not made it ideal from day one basically. So they gave time. So and during that time, 2 3 years, where the government was very lenient and you were not getting a lot of queries and your every action was not being questioned basically. And it was a self-assessment sort of model basically. So during that time, we worked on that maturity of the system, and then I think after that we were able to fully compliant. No, it is a mix of basically like we don't have individual like who will just keep track of whatever development or amendment is happening. So the operating team and like say this tracking team is combined. So the taxation head is basically overall responsible for compliance as well as like whatever amendment or tracking of like whatever developments are happening with respect to tax. And below that, the tax head has a team basically. So it will be like because for if we want to have a separate team, because sometimes it might not be necessary like every day the amendment is happening. Correct. So every day amendment is happening, or every day new case law is coming, or every day new act is coming, or like that. It does not happen that way. So there is like a good amount of say timing gap basically. So that operating team even if they are alert and they are having good say professional network and good connect with consultant and all. So they keep getting like whenever such thing happens basically. So based on that, they just study and then accordingly plan for implementation. Yeah, we have a risk management committee. So where we have identified critical risk with respect to compliances, and that is even reviewed up to board level on quarterly basis. That is a requirement basically like you need to have risk assessment committee because we are a listed company. and we have a system of audit committee and board meeting and all like on quarterly basis. So so accordingly we have formed a risk assessment committee also, and the critical risk with respect to like say compliance statutory act and all are identified, and those are being monitored, uh, starting from like say working level people to top. Being a listed company and like say part of a good group basically, so we believe in 100% corporate governance, correct? So management like it's quite serious ki like we should not anybody like should not take any shortcut or any like say via media, because like say it is a game of interpretation, correct? So whenever like particular provision or particular like say section of a act, like you can interpret in a different way, correct? And but like say from our management perspective and all, like say we are very clear ki, like we should be 100% compliant. We are 100% corporate governance company. So so we don't take any sort of chance or any sort of call on that. So whenever, and besides that we have a system of like say monthly finance review. So in that finance review also, like each of the department, whether treasury, banking, or like say accounts or taxation. So these teams makes a presentation where the CEO, MD, and CFO, like the entire like say leadership team sits basically. So that meeting happens like in the first week of every month, and it happens regularly every month. So in that also, like whatever like say any strategic point or like say any amendment or like say whatever calls are being taken basically, those are presented to management. No, challenges like basically it's a game of intent, correct? If the intent of like say management or leadership is very clear ki like we need to be 100% compliant, then you can ensure compliance. But if the intent of like because basically like it depends on the like say type of management, correct? Because there might be some sort of company like who might look for say short term advantage, where like say you try to optimize tax outgo, you try to optimize like say any impact or outflow, cash outflow basically, and based on that you interpret like particular section or particular provision in your own way basically. So taking chances like with respect to taxes only creates hurdle to compliances basically. If the intent of management or intent of operating team is very clear, ki like we need to be 100% compliant. We need not to be like say very conservative, ki like wherever like compliance is not required, but we are like say more than 100% like doing the efforts to or we are making extra payment on account of that. But at least 100% compliance is the primary first and foremost requirement, which we need to ensure. So if intent is very clear, then I don't think like it is very tough. And so the first is intent, then second is like how much importance or say listening you give to tax team. Correct. So that also becomes important. Like because in normally I have seen in some of the companies ki like the listening and importance to tax team is not given that much, and because that is the team like which basically spend the money. Correct. So normally, like the revenue driver or like say revenue team is given more importance than that outgo team, or like they say the people who are spending basically. So if you are giving like say good importance and providing listening to tax team, I think that solves the purpose, because in that case you will hire good quality of like say people for tax team. You will create a strong team which will be competent, and when you listen them, and then if your intent is good, like intent is not to save tax, or intent is not to do non-compliance, or intent is not to earn money from tax basically, then I think it's not very difficult to be 100% compliant or to be compliant. Yeah, I think normally like the vendors, partner, or even customer also knows ki we are working with a large company, or we are working with a large group basically. So they also come prepared with that requirement. Correct. So if somebody is dealing with a like say mini cement plant, correct, who is very like small in nature, and like it is a proprietor driven organization, where vendor feels ki the compliance is not given that much importance, or not required basically. So the vendors, or like say business partner, or like say customer and all, they try to basically take up with the company, or like say take up with them to follow the system. So basically I wanted to say ki all these associates basically behave in which the company behaves. So if company is large in size, company is very compliant, company is like say very serious, does not accept any such of hanky-panky or shortcuts basically. So these channel partners also becomes that way. So that way we don't face any such challenges. And wherever on one-time vendors, or like say some of the parties which are very small in nature, there we absorb the tax implications. So suppose if somebody is like one-time vendor, and does not have PAN number or like that, so then there are provision in the act. We can absorb. We can charge 20% TDS basically, and can deposit with the government. So those type of options are there. And similarly, in case of transporters, like reverse charge mechanism, there like where transporter is not charging you GST, you can uh, you can pay GST to government or to department basically, on reverse charge basis basically. So with those basis, we are able to comply.